I am pumped. Yeah, it's an exciting day today, my friend. It's Saturday, so happy Saturday to you, and thanks for taking the time. I mean, I was driving back from the gym this morning, and the whole city's just like super calm after the last 3 days being quite hustle and bustle. How's it going over there, buddy?
Hey man, you know what? It's the greatest hangover of the year. You know, it always happens that you've got both the food coma and the liquor comatose. But I mean, holidays are like this for everybody, right? We brush our teeth when we get up around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't get out of your pajamas until about 4 o'clock, which is around an early dinner time. And then you realize, gosh, I haven't even made the bed, so why don't I just presume my position, the one I left earlier this afternoon, and you do that for 2 weeks. So it's a great time to reconnect and recharge. I think that's what the holidays are really all about, aside from family and friends and celebration.
Well, we talked about that actually in the Performance Clinic, which many of the people watching this may have been to the Performance Clinic. We talked about the importance of recharging, the importance of recalibrating. And you know what? I got to say that Performance Clinic really changed my mind in terms of taking some extra time off. I've been built very much like you, Richard, where the harder you work, the more you're going to get, and you're just driven to go all the time. But the Performance Clinic rewired me a little bit, so that was awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we all underestimate the value of recovery, and recovery is not just about catching your breath or reflecting and reviewing your results. It's about downright stopping so you can sleep, nutrify, and recover the areas of your body and your mind, which is equally a muscle that needs to, in fact, be respected of the fatigue that's caused by thinking and strategizing, conversing and engaging. All those things are just really underestimated. So we got to treat ourselves more like an athlete rather than just a mere human being. And so when we start doing that, we start performing like one. And that's, I think, a really good takeaway from that Performance Clinic.
Yeah, wonderful. So here we are today. We're talking about, that if you read, the people listening to this have read the headline, which is, Richard, is it people's fault that they fail to achieve their New Year's resolutions? And of all the New Year's resolutions people make, in the top 5 always is money. Always. Whether it's getting out of debt, making more money, increasing business revenues, whatever the case may be, money is at the heart of people's New Year's resolutions. And the sad fact is, Rich, that over 80% of people have completely given up on their resolutions by February. Now, luckily, it's January 5th, so we're catching them early. But and over 90% never even achieve a New Year's resolution. And you know what? To me, that is an absolute shame. So here we are trying to change the world one Facebook Live at a time. Why is this happening, Richard? Why do people is it their fault, or is there something else going on?
Well, my friend, we set ourselves up to lose. We set ourselves up to lose. When you just start with the term resolution, the root of the definition is to resolve that which doesn't work. And sometimes life works. I just wish it works with more. I wish I could have just a little bit more left at the end of the day, at the end of the week. I wish I can actually just have a little bit more love or a little bit more health. And so a resolution is not what we must, in fact, commit ourselves to. And these things are massive fallacies. A New Year resolution is not what people should be creating. It should be intentions. Intentions. And an intention is kind of like my grandmother would grow these tomato plants, and she would always look for my broken hockey sticks. And she would take them and she would use them to, in fact, make sure that the young seedling grew a very straight path. And so that stick is the intention for the tomato tree. No stick, you've got yourself a runaway tree. And so the stick is the intention. It's a guiding principle that not only governs you, but organizes the environment and everything around you. Friends, family, conversations, discussions, the way you calendarize things, the way you treat your resources, bandwidth, your focus and attention. All these things organize and conspire to have you live in alignment to an intention. So is it easy to, in fact, have a New Year resolution called, losing 10 pounds? Well, that sounds more like a goal and aim and aspiration. And that which you need to resolve isn't pursuing the loss of poundage. It's actually getting into the behaviors, aligning to the commitments, organizing your life and those in it so that you're going to the gym more often. You're eating less crap every day. You're ridding your environment of the cookies and the temptations that come around 11 o'clock at night if you're like me, heading up downstairs for a bowl of cereal. So you're organizing everything because you're living your life in an intention. And everything around you is in the fulfillment of the intention. So the reason why losing weight, giving up an old or bad habit, getting out of an old job or a dead-end career that you're no longer inspired, lit up by, and or are passionate about, or as you just said, JG, correcting, modifying, or making better some part of your financial life better, greater, grander. All those things are important, and it all starts with setting an intention.
So essentially what you're saying, Rich, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm hearing, let's not call them resolutions. Let's just take that word, just chuck it right out. Let's not even, because just by calling it a resolution, we've set ourselves up to fail.
Absolutely. You know what? It's the greatest metaphor, and I'm a big metaphor analogy guy. But if you were an artist, JG, and all you had were grayscale paints, and I said, paint a colorful picture of the future, you will only be limited by using grayscale paints, and that picture will not be very colorful. It'll only be in grayscale paints. You'll have various levels of grays and dark grays right up to blacks. The idea is that you're limited by the medium you use. So the language we use is like our medium, right? Language is like those pastels. And the more broad your language gets, the more broad your words and your choice of language becomes, your lexicon, you end up getting access to new ways of creating a future. So if you walk around and you only can use the words heavy, overbearing, and hard work, and I say, how's your day going? And those are the only 3 words you're allowed to say, guess what they are? It's heavy, it's hard work, it's overbearing. But if I included empowering, now all of a sudden, look at how often you'll use that color to paint the present. Look how often you'll use that color to, in fact, create the future. So a New Year resolution should really be a New Year intention, a commitment, right? A future to live into, to say, this is how my year is going to go. I'm going to no longer spend money like this. I'm no longer going to invest this way. I'm going to put aside 20% of my paycheck like this. I'm going to take my love of my life out on a weekly basis. I'm going to order my mother flowers on a monthly basis. These are my intentions. I put them in my calendar, and then I live powerfully into those intentions.
So coming back to Nona, right? Your Nona, as she planted, and I think this is important, as she planted the stick, the old broken hockey stick, to guide the vine. If the vine started going off, which it always does, and we always do, we're not going to be perfect, that's normal. The vine starts going off. What does she do? She just brings it back, ties it to the stick, and says, no, Mr. or Mrs. Vine, you got to stick with the stick. So the intention. So people are going to make mistakes, there's no doubt.
But you see, what you just introduced was the second most important part, right? And that's monitor progress. Monitor progress. So again, oftentimes people, I'm just going to use weight as an example because that is actually one of the top 3 New Year resolutions people set, which is I'm going to lose X amount of weight, 5 pounds this, 25 pounds that, get a 6-pack.
But the language is so important though, Richard, because I was with a friend the other day, we were having a beer and I said, how are things going? He says, well, I'm here's my New Year's resolutions and I'm probably not going to get them, but right. And I'm thinking in my head, as he's saying that, I'm thinking, well, you're definitely not going to hit them when that's the color you're using. The language you're using is I'm probably not going to get this resolution, because he's conditioned himself. And we all have conditioned ourselves to think, you know what, these resolutions, it's a cool thing to do, but we're probably not going to get it. But if you set a whole new intention with that color, it's a completely different game, isn't it?
Yeah, people are striving for perfection when it comes to a New Year resolution, goal, aim, or aspiration. But when what they really should be measuring, to get back to my point, is not perfection, but progress, right? Just progress. So if I gave myself a goal that in 30 days I'm going to lose 5 pounds, let's say, and at the end of that 30 days I measure myself and I notice I've only lost 2, is all lost? Is all my progress not worth celebrating? Should I now go and walk abruptly to the counter of the membership service and say, I want to resign because this gym is not working for me? No, I should step back and say, what other areas of my life have improved as a result of this intention I'm living into? The intention of losing 5 pounds. Well, I'm eating better, right? I'm eating better. I'm sleeping better, more soundly. I feel more rested because I'm working out harder, and I'm metabolizing my foods better, which is allowing me to, in fact, select things to eat differently and at different times because I'm organizing my entire life in the fulfillment of this intention. So my point is that when we step on a scale or we hold ourselves to account to a literal, limited goal, aim, or resolution, there's only room for disappointment or achievement. And that is a very strict line. So it's quite possible for people to never be a millionaire, but be incredibly happy. To never make 6 figures, but absolutely be content. The minute we tell ourselves that a number matters, that this absolute, resolute number, figure, fact, and or reality must be, you're only setting yourself up for disappointment, because wherever there's an expectation, disappointment is its shadow. Wherever there's an expectation, disappointment is not too far off as its shadow, because wherever there's an expectation, you will be let down, because we will never always meet and exceed that which we intend as a goal or an aim and an aspiration. We have to make sure that the goal, if I were to allow that word be in the play, is that if the goal is to feel healthier, and if the byproduct is to lose 5 pounds, then fantastic. But if I feel great, back to your point of referencing my nonna who checks the vine, and if it goes off course, she ties a little shoestring, which also came from my shoes, by the way. That's why I had no shoestrings and no hockey sticks to play with. But the point is that.
But you had good tomatoes. You had good tomatoes.
But as she would tie those strings, she's not making the plant wrong for being off course. She's playing the role of progressively observing the metric called growth and getting ahead. Growth and getting ahead. Progress, not perfection.
Now, one of the terms I heard in my younger days that I've always sort of lived by and loved, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, is I was taught say 12, 15 years ago that progress equals happiness. And if you're taking notes, folks, that one resonated with me. Progress equals happiness. And I felt like, wow, that is really powerful stuff. How do you feel about that, Richard?
Well, progress equals happiness, I would say, is absolutely the truth. And the reason why is because if you've committed yourself to actually performing, being at the source of producing results rather than chasing them, then the progress itself, the journey itself, produces the happiness you should have. And that comes down to one of the 4 ways that people measure their worth. You know, we all know that the first is net worth, right? You take everything that you own, you subtract everything that you owe, and that's left with a net worth, a net outcome. The second is actually your self-worth. The self-worth is the sense of accomplishment, growth, and the betterment of self. So knowing that I'm growing my mind, I'm growing my knowledge, I'm growing my experience, my wisdom, my insight, my perspective. The third is life worth, the value you give to and get from life. That's where contribution lives, and philanthropy, and just giving back, right? The fourth, though, and I think one of the most important ones, is live worth. And live worth is the value, the magic, and power of experiencing life fully, untethered and uncompromised. Like dancing like no one is watching, loving as though it doesn't exist, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So in pursuing the growth of those 4 worths, which is really a worthwhile and most noble journeys to pursue, that is progress, and that shall equal happiness. And so I think that's the beginning of the rest of one's financial life, is knowing that really being able to be rich in the things that matter really begins to, in fact, broadening the scoreboard. Yeah. It's not just about points. It's about assists and blocks and turnovers, right? Fast breaks.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, as a result of measuring your progress differently, you grow happier. You want to know why? You're not limited to winning just 1 game. You're now actually expanded to winning 5. And if you're making progress in all 5, then you feel more empowered, more alive, more than you were.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I think that what's interesting is a lot of people listening to this are real estate investors. We're all real estate investors. We're part of the Real Estate Intelligence Network. So as a result, let's talk about real estate goals, Rich, because a lot of people listening to this have set real estate resolutions or real estate intentions this year. They've made it back to real estate. And some people, I'm just anticipating that some people listening to this are maybe at a place where they have 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 doors, but they feel like they're hitting a plateau. They feel like they're hitting a ceiling. They feel like, man, I'm doing all the same things I've always done, but all of a sudden I'm not getting the results anymore. I feel like I've tapped out. Rich, let's talk about that. What is it that makes people stall, which creates some version of suffering because they're really trying to get to the next level? Is the Money Clinic, and by the way, we're doing a Money Clinic, Rich, that is January 19th in Vancouver, and all of the members, anyone, all access members or members of the Real Estate Intelligence Network, you get to come. You should check out your emails. You got to get registered because it's filling up very, very, very fast. But Rich, let's talk about real estate and people feeling like they've hit a ceiling. Is the Money Clinic going to help them overcome this?
So yes, the answer is yes. So I'll tell you that after I've been in the financial services business all my life. My entire adult life has been spent inside the world of money. I started off as a cold call cowboy at the age of 16, making 300 cold calls a day, every day as a full-time job. And I did that for 2 years. It wasn't like a 2-day stint or a multi-week interview. I mean, 300 cold calls a day, every day for 2 years. And I mean, that was the day that you actually had to turn dials to make calls, not just punch numbers. So the relationship I have to what it means to be prosperous.
That's 144,000 phone calls, Rich.
Dude, I mean, I would have gotten an award, but they said that's just the cost of entry. But I forever am grateful for the things I've learned on both Wall Street and Bay Street. But back to the point, I learned over the years that there's a new way of measuring prosperity. So before I get to how you measure the new prosperity, for all of you watching this, here's what is at the cause, the root. This is the culprit. And it comes down to financial exhaustion. And financial exhaustion is saying, listen, I've got all the doors or I've got no doors. I can't do this or I've been trying to do this. I started, I stopped, I got stuck, or I just outright gave up. Whatever that is, it's a financial exhaustion because you've gotten disconnected with what it means to really prosper and flourish for yourself and your life financially. So then you're going to ask yourself, well, what does it mean to then be financially exhausted? Well, financial is only a relationship, a word to describe three things: money, wealth, and worth. Money is what I got in my pocket, what's in my account, the easily dispensable actual tool of trade, the currency, if it were. And it could be gold, silver, or platinum, or it could be dollars, certificate, or other forms of paper. The wealth part is the how I'm measured, as in I've got houses, I got homes, I got commercial properties, I got cars, I've got stuff. I have a wealth, right, in the world of money. Then there's the worth. The worth is how I get to live life as a result of my wealth, which is a function of my money. So I'll give you an example of why those are the three new linguistic screen sets to measuring financially what you've got going on. Have you ever had this happen to you, JG? It happened to me the other day, where I went to a gas pump, went to go pay for my gas. I mean, 60, 70 bucks, whatever it was. And I went to go tap it and it didn't work. I then had to go process it and it got declined. You want to know why? Card didn't work. Now, regardless of what that meant, whether I had reached my limit, or whether they didn't get my payment, or whether it was compromised, all I can tell you is this. Based on where I come from and how I grew up, being a high school dropout, and I mean, starting work at the age of 16 as that cold call cowboy, I went right back to what it felt like to be broke.
Yeah.
That moment, I was a poor ass son of a gun. In that moment, I felt so small, poor, and broke assed. I mean, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. Dude, the card was just compromised, but I later found out. But in that moment, I really shrunk. Yeah. So the question becomes that, well, did someone come and take my house away? No. Did that mean that someone all of a sudden reversed the title to the car I was driving? No. Did it mean that my wealth had changed in that moment? No. And was my worth any different? Yes. How I valued what I was worth was equal and proportionate to what I had in my pocket. Money, right? Actual cash, credit, and or available credit. And what happens is financial exhaustion occurs much sooner because we don't frame the conversations correctly. Back to the grayscale conversation. If you only got grayscales and you're trying to look at a bright future, dude, you are limited to a grayscale future. So there's no way you're going to see reds and hues of orange and bright, nice, beautiful yellows. You're only going to see what you experience, and what you experience is formed by the language you use to interpret the circumstances you're in. So whether you're talking doors, or whether you're talking income, or whether you're talking about cash flow, or whether you're talking about how close you've come to your 5-year goal, whether you call it your 5-year plan or your Belize, which some of our good friends of the Rain family call it, whatever it is, if you've stopped, got stuck, and or have paused, and for a reason you feel is fair, you might have been suffering from a bit of financial exhaustion, and it will begin with you recalibrating the language you use to describe the circumstances in which govern your current state of money.
Now here's what's interesting about that, Rich. Here's what I've learned as you and I you and I have gone through similar paths. You're further ahead than I am, both in age and good looks. But
I won't disagree.
But my point is this, that this concept of recalibrating your relationship to money, wealth, and worth, it never goes away. You had to do it when you first started, would you agree? And you had nothing, and you were just working 24/7 to just get a little something. And then as you grew and you grew and you grew and you accumulated more and more money, more and more wealth, and more worth, the conversation doesn't go away, does it?
No, it doesn't. And you know, when you say the word recalibrate, I love that word, because you know, it's like when you know, if your TV looks like the picture is off a little, you recalibrate it. You recalibrate the jets if you've got a rear set projection TV, or you recalibrate the LCD. You recalibrate the picture so that everything really truly lines back up, because over time, just like my Nona's tomato plant tree, the forces of life, the winds, the nature, the life circumstances, the exes, the bosses, it pulls you back and forth. And so you're always going to be out of calibration. So to really appreciate recalibrating, here's one of the things that we cover inside of the Money Clinic. We need you to learn, relearn, and perhaps learn again what you've learned about money. I'll say that one more time, because it's not a play on words. We have you learn, relearn, or learn again what you've learned about money. So in other words, the analogy that we both are digging a lot about the hockey stick is, if that hockey stick had a break in it, right? If it had a break in it, where would the tomato plant tree grow according to the broken stick? Yep. So if we inherited a broken stick, a stick that was not straight, as a relationship to money, and it was somehow fractured, broken, or disformed because of the parents we had dealt with money differently than we do today. In fact, our parents' dealt differently with money the way our parents did. I can assure you that my great-great-great-granddaddy dealt with money differently than I do with money today. Just think about this. Just think about this, right, JG? You and I, our generation, take probably 10 times more vacation than our parents ever had, which is likely 100 times more vacation than their parents ever had. And our parents, if you ask them if they ever took a vacation, should they be blessed to be here for a moment, they would say, what's a vacation? So my point is that over time, we actually are not truly living the financial intention by design. We're living a financial intention that was either given to us, adopted to us, and or just downright we just fell into. And that's not an intentional intention. So in other words, I was afraid of taking risks. I was afraid of getting myself out there. I was afraid of losing money, losing control, or getting it wrong. And you want to know why? My mother was exactly like that. My mother taught me, not by sitting me down and telling me the things that she was afraid of, was fearful for, and or would not just do no matter what. I observed, I learned as a young child, and as an adolescent, as a teen, and as a young man, through conversations and by osmosis. Most of us learned who we are through our parents, or influences, or the things that we were inspired by. So as a result, I was really just a mirror image of my mother's relationship to money, wealth, and worth. And guess how small that was? like this. So the point I'm trying to make is that in the clinic, what we get to the heart of is, what is your financial narrative? What story, what upbringing, what heritage, what lexicon, what philosophy, what is operating your system in relationship to money? Because we are not our interpretations. We are not the drama, the stories, the bullshit, the what went wrongs and the how we got it bad. We are not those things. We are and only are the intentions we create. So the Money Clinic provides the clear opportunity just to stop, pause, reflect, review, relearn, reset, and then refire on a whole new intention in the world of money, in the world of wealth, and in the world of worth.
Wow. I mean, I really cannot see a better use of time than taking a day to really get down to the heart of this. And whether you've done this work before or not, Rich.
But JG, I'm going to interrupt you really boldly and really unapologetically, because that's so un-Canadian to do. But dude, think about it. You've been in the seminar business for over a decade. You've empowered tens of thousands of people across over 24 different countries. You and I are in the same boat. We're in the transformation business. And think about all the programs you've led and all the programs we've been to, all the workshops we've studied for competitive purposes and for a collective intelligence gathering. I have not yet come across a single program yet that has people stop to revisit, relearn, and recalibrate their relationship to money with no other intention other than just to get you back in the money earning game, right? Not one, without a hidden agenda, without stuff at the back, and we're going to sell you this stuff once you get, no. We'll move you powerfully into action, but I've been reading a book a week since I was 16. I've attended every workshop. I've shadowed Tony Robbins for 7 years, about to go on tour with him next week. I mean, I've learned from the greats, and I have not yet seen anyone sit adults down from the ages of 18 or up and say, let's just first find out, what is your relationship to money, wealth, and worth, so that we can have you living a financially great life by design and without compromise. Not once. And so you're right. When you said that, it just triggered that, because I'm passionate about it, and I know you are too. That's why we're here on a Saturday. You know, I'm at home, you're at home, and here we are doing this because this is not just a business opportunity. We have chosen for this to be our duty, right? And we're growing richer in the worth that matters to us to help other people recapture, reclaim, and restart their financial lives. And I think that's really important for everyone to get. This is the first time I've ever seen it, and that's why I think I'm really stoked about leading it.
Yeah, and this is the inaugural session, January 19th in Vancouver. Seating is extremely limited. This is not going to be a 5,000 person event. We've kept it a nice, tight group so that we can really get down to the work that matters, Rich.
Well, and that's why it's called a clinic. You know, this is not a workshop. You know, we're not going to cut wood, although cutting wood is cool. And it's not some seminar where we're all going to sit in a row and I'm going to download you with stuff, and so I can see your buffering symbol just buffering and you're taking it all in. This is a clinic. This is part education, academia, curricula. This is part coaching to make sure that I'm going to actually see you do the repetitions. And this is part training and development, where I'm going to say, okay, we're going to take 5, 10, 7 minutes to actually, in fact, do this exercise, make this call, make this list, get it done, hands up when you're finished, and until everyone's hands are up, we are not moving forward. Because one of the promises of the program, the clinic, the Money Clinic, is that everyone gets what they came for. That everyone, because
it's all different, right, Rich? I mean, what totally. I'm going there for is different than what other people are going there for.
But here's the thing, and I'm going to say this slowly because it matters. And we're also, in fact, Instagram live feeding this. So I got my camera right over here. But I'm going to say this slowly for everyone to hear. I mean, everyone to hear. Is that I'm tired of going to workshops, clinics, seminars, and conferences where everything I learn in that room, the magic and power of it is only discovered when I leave the room. Because when I leave the room, I mean, life hits me. Right? The calls come in, the emails start, the text messages start flowing. I mean, she wants this, he wants that, the kids need this, and someone's still hungry, and I still got to do stuff, and I don't get to it. So in the Money Clinic, in all of our clinic series, the brand promise of the clinic is you don't leave until the work is done. The work gets done so that when you're there, that's right there. There. It's like the old book of I Ching when it says the two foreign substances, if both come together and if there's a reaction, both are forever transformed. This is the commitment for myself and my co-leader, Alan Kahn, who's my coach, my advisor, my mentor. He's my Yoda, if I were to call myself Luke Skywalker. And I mean, that's not even a big enough compliment to who he is and what he's been for me and our firm. But back to the clinic, that clinic promises to make sure that there's a transformation in your relationship to money. And I mean, not making money, because that's another myth. You don't make money. If you did, then that's called counterfeiting, and you wouldn't, in fact, be alive to see another day. You'd be jailed for it. To earn money, to attract money, to generate money, to, in fact, create opportunities to draw in more. It's a flow. It's a resource. And we're going to turn you into a magnet for more. But the only person in the way is you. So the clinic, we get that work done. You do not leave until you are complete with your realignment and that work that we promise to get done in that clinic.
Well, Richard, I mean, it's crazy how 30 minutes can just go by when you and I start chatting. I figured this would be 15, 20, but here we are. I've only covered one of my 4 questions I wanted to ask, so we're going to have to do this again. But you know what? This is a huge opportunity. Seating is limited. The Money Clinic, January 19th in Vancouver. Be there live. Get yourself there, whatever that takes to get yourself there, because it is that important. The fact that you haven't been hitting your New Year's resolutions is not your fault. There's a different way to go about it, and that's what you're going to learn at the Money Clinic. Rich, thank you so much for taking your time, man, on a Saturday.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate all of you, and thank you very much for watching. Both JG and I do this for you today. We'll see you again.
Cheers.